which I presume will be on a going forward basis. It will be chaired by various officials from government as we go along. Please join with me and rise for the pledge. Thank you. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to start today by having everybody, if you wouldn't mind, just a very brief introduction of who you are and the agency that you represent. And if we could start over here with the chief.
Bill Tokacher, Chief of Police, Holmes Beach. Jim Keem, City of Holmes Beach, Commission Chair, Vice Mayor.
Shirley Gruber Bryant, City of Palmetto Mayor.
Bill Clegg, Manatee County Attorney.
Mary Foreman, School Board of Manatee County.
Vanessa Baum, Manatee County.
Gene Brown, Mayor, City of Bradenton.
George Cruz, Manatee County Commission, District 7.
Scott Hope, Manatee County School Board, District 4.
Reggie Bellamy, Manatee County, District 2.
Cynthia Saunders, Superintendent, Manatee County.
Bill Sanders, Bradenton City Council.
Hi, Sherry Courier, Manatee County Administrator.
John Chappie, Bradenton Beach Mayor.
Carl Callahan, City Administrator, City of Bradenton.
James Satcher, Manatee County Board of County Commissioners, District 1.
Misty Servia, Manatee County Commission, District 4.
Marianne Barnaby, City of Bradenton, Ward 2.
Carol Whitmore, Manatee County Commission, District 6 at large.
Brian Williams, City of Palmetto, Vice Mayor.
Thank you very much. The first thing I'd like to ask for is there any public comment today on things that are not on today's agenda? Any public comment, please? Nope. Seeing no public comment, we will move to the first item on the agenda, which is the City of Anna Maria Hot Topics. And I don't know how many hot topics we have in Anna Maria. It's kind of, we don't really have many hot things going on out there. We have warm things, but nonetheless, I have three items that I'd like to cover. The first item is our city pier. The next would be about a shrimp trawler that we had that crashed on the shores of Anna Maria. And lastly, I would like to talk a little bit about home rule and our struggles and where we are with home rule. Our city pier, you may recall, was destroyed by Hurricane Irma. And with the help and financial support of Manatee County and the Tourist Development Commission, we were able to rebuild our pier. We opened it in June of 2020 for fishing, and now we have a grill and a bait shop open there. That opened in last December. The pier is paid for. We have no debt. We only have annual maintenance. The rent that we collect from the grill and the bait shop more than pays for the annual maintenance of the pier. So financially, it's a good deal. Having it paid for, not having a nut to meet every month in terms of debt, it's good. We still have empty space though left on the pier. There's a space which used to be in the past a sit-down restaurant. It's approximately 1,800 square feet. On February the 10th at 1:30 p.m. on the pier itself, we're going to have a public meeting soliciting public comment for what to do with that 1,800 square feet. We've got 5 options that we will discuss. One is a sit-down restaurant. Another is converting this space into a special event venue. We also could look at the possibility of having it for retail shop and gift shop. Very interesting proposal that we have coming from Moat Marine. Moat Marine has expressed an interest in putting somewhat of a quasi-learning lab in this 1,800 square feet. And the fifth possibility is a combination of a couple of these. For example, we could have Moat Marine plus a small retail gift operation, or we could have a special event venue along with a retail space. So those will be the items that we're going to discuss. at that meeting, and it probably will take us a couple of meetings to get down to where are the priorities and where do we go from here so that we can focus our efforts on how we're going to fill that last 1,800 square feet of space. So with that, that's the status of the pier. The shrimp trawler story, I don't know how many of you were read it in the paper or saw it on television, but about a month ago we had a shrimp trawler crash about a half mile offshore of Anna Maria, right off of Bean Point. On Saturday morning, it was like the coldest morning of the year. We had our beach spread with debris all the way from Bean Point all the way down to Longboat Key. The debris consisted of pieces from the trawler itself, as well as a fuel spill. We were able to get it cleaned up with the help of Manatee County. Charlie Hunsinger just did an unbelievable job, because I walked out on that beach that Saturday and looked at it and I said, I cannot believe this. I can't believe that there's this much debris. What are we going to do with it? And my first call was to Cheryl, and then Cheryl got a hold of Charlie, and Charlie got a hold of me. And all of a sudden, we had dumpsters and backhaulers and forklifts and everything else on the beach. It was incredible. We got that beach cleaned up in 2 days. And it was a joint Manatee County, City of Anna Maria effort. And the people of Anna Maria really thank Manatee County for your response. It was, I've gotten nothing but compliments. Of course, I took all the credit for that because I thought it was only appropriate. I'm a politician. So anyway, it was a great effort. We really, we came through that one remarkably. The last thing I want to talk about is home rule and what we've been doing with home rule, in particular, home rule as it applies to vacation rentals. We have an ordinance to regulate vacation rentals. There's three primary pieces to this ordinance. We require registration on an annual basis of every vacation rental. We limit the occupancy in a vacation rental to 2 persons per bedroom plus 2, with a maximum of 8. And then we require an annual safety inspection. There's currently 2 bills in the Florida legislature that are pending. The first is HB 219, introduced by Representative Fisher, and the companion bill is SB 522, introduced by Senator Manny Diaz, that would preempt any regulations of vacation rentals to the state of Florida. It would pretty much invalidate our ordinance on a going forward basis. We obviously feel it's critical that we be able to maintain these 3 items: registration, occupancy limitations, and annual safety inspections. I don't feel that the state of Florida is prepared manpower-wise to take that on at this point. They could be at some point in the future, but they're not prepared to take it on now, that's for certain. We are working on this ordinance. We've worked on this pending legislation. We've worked on it every year for the last 5 years with the state of Florida. We have a full-time lobbyist, and his sole purpose is this vacation rental ordinance. We have a website that we update it every year, but it's homeruleflorida.com. And if you go to this website, you can, first of all, get information about vacation rentals and what's going on. But secondly, you can easily make a few clicks and send a letter to the governor or send a letter to your representative. And you can either have it personalized, or you can use one of our canned letters that we already have there on the site. But this site is really a big help in getting our message across to the legislators. I questioned the effectiveness of a bunch of emails going to a legislator until I sat in their offices in Tallahassee, and I watched them come in, and the first question they would ask their admin staff, how many emails did we get, and what side of the fence are they on? It's a very, very effective tool. So we plan on improving this as we go along, our websites. We've had the website up now probably 5 years, and we've improved it every year. We're in the process now of revamping it, making it more user-friendly. But I'd like you to take a look at that if you're interested in this particular topic. We work very closely with the Florida League of Cities and also the Minnesota League in terms of trying to get a unified approach with other coastal barrier island communities that are impacted by this. It's not every city that obviously can even experience or have an appreciation for what happens to a city with vacation rentals. The city of Anna Maria is over 60% vacation rental properties. In my own neighborhood alone, every house around me is a vacation rental. Every house on every side. That's not all bad because they're nice people, and we don't really have party houses, but there are, within the city, there are party houses, and there are some people that consistently have parties next to their house, and it's not what they came to Florida for. It's not why they retired and bought a house on an island, but it is the nature of the beast. So there needs to be some regulation. We found that our regulations tend to work. The realtors are big proponents of this, very big proponents of it. They have pushed back in the beginning until we worked together and got this through, and it's been very, very effective. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on anything that I've presented. I do. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Murphy. I would just like to ask of the elected officials that are here today, how many of you all have gotten a complaint about a short-term rental, a VRBO, an Airbnb in your area? It's becoming a bigger problem, and one of the things that I don't think people fully grasp is that it can affect the very fabric of your community. In that you may have young families that are wanting to try to buy a house in a specific area or a specific community, and that the house can go on the market and a day later it's snapped up by somebody wanting to do this type of activity. And I was getting calls before I was in office with people asking me what they could do. Now that I am back in office, I'm getting calls again. It's a serious issue. And I personally think the government closest to the people ought to be the ones that regulate it.
Thank you. Mayor Chappie?
A lot of my friends would say I don't really need a mic, but I couldn't agree with you more. By what has happened with our state legislatures in continuously going after home rule, our right to protect and preserve and govern from the ground up, from the local level, has changed the character of all of our communities. I think more so out on the island. When I was a county commissioner, we had issues. Manatee County didn't have anything on the books, really. But I'd get complaints along the river, some of the larger homes being rented out. It's a problem. We need to all get on board, and we need to understand the damage that is done by not pushing back hard enough when governments go after home rule. That is our protection. That is how we govern at the most basic level, the local level. And we need to continuously be on them. We need to continually watch what they're doing, and we need to be there and visit them in Tallahassee and do what we can to send that same message. They have basically destroyed the character, the type of community we've had. They've accelerated the decline as a residential touristy community on the island. We all have known for years, the people that have been out there a really long time, with the increase in property values, it's just kind of a no-win for a lot of people, the older residents in our community that have kids, and they want to leave their properties to the kids. Well, the kids get it after the passing of their parents, and they can't afford it. And then it sells, and then it changes, and then with the regulations, the home rule being taken away from us, boom, we have party houses. I have a couple in my neighborhood. I know one individual has just recently taken over another 6 properties in Bradenton Beach. It's right in our face, and we need the help. So that's all I have to say right now. But I just want you to remember the fact that what I've said about home rule and the attack of home rule from our other governmental agencies that have a little more position, a little more authority than the cities have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We have Tom Harmer, the town manager of Longboat Key, on Zoom, who'd like to comment.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I would add, obviously, vacation rentals, short-term vacation rentals are a big deal for Longboat Key as well. We do have some protections that we lobbied for as a carve-out for restrictions here on the island, but like was mentioned, we regularly receive complaints about rentals. It's very difficult to sometimes enforce the evidence to take action is difficult. We did pursue one all the way through the courts, and they ended up withdrawing their resistance to that legal action and signed a settlement because it was a code enforcement action. But it's just something that's high up on our legislative list. It's in the top 2 or 3 items for us as well. And so we appreciate everyone working together to help protect us in that way or seek further legislative support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harmer. And with Commissioner Whitmore.
Well, and we hear it quite a bit, and I hear from others, politicians, state, well, you know, you all moved out to the island, what do you expect? Well, I've lived there 52 years, and that's where the low-income housing was. I paid $50 a month rent. I've lived in the same house 26 years now, and everything got sold around me, and all around me is tourists, you know, party houses. The first time in my life I've ever called the police of Holmes Beach recently, and they had to come 3 times. So it is a chronic problem, but you are going to hear, well, if you don't like it, why are you living on an island? Where do you expect people to come? But again, somehow we have to be able to separate it, the quality of life. We all talk about quality of life, you know, and so I hear it from both sides, Mayor. And I 100% agree. As somebody that is a longtime resident out there, same with Mayor Chappie, I just don't know how you're going to convince the legislatures and others to support how we feel that actually have to put up with it. We have a decreased quality of life.
Thank you. And we have one public comment.
Our caller 445-445. Please press *6 to unmute. That's *6. Go ahead, caller.
For the record, Glenn Giuliana, I'll reserve my right at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
I'd like to speak. I don't
Yes.
have cards.
Yes. Mayor Ruver Bryant.
I know that we don't likely have the issues that they do at the islands, but we do have our share of the rentals, and you're absolutely correct. Every comment that I've heard, I almost didn't speak because it seems to be mirroring the same things, but I would tell you it is such a serious issue, and people have come to me that rented some of these, and they needed ADA assistance. It wasn't provided, and I don't understand how that can pass the smell test, because the business entities that provide rentals, they have to take care of and provide for the ADA, and it's not happening. It's a serious problem. We have party houses as well that are on the waterfront, and it is devastating to the surrounding community, and it is very, very difficult to deal with, and it becomes a constant issue for law enforcement and code enforcement. So I think it's going to take the entire Manatee County. I think we need to band together, and I think we need to make an impact on our legislators, because you look at how many people live in Manatee County, there's a lot of people that are affected by this issue, and home rule is critical for us.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Are there any other comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I don't know if this is protocol or not, but at this time, I'd like to offer a motion to ask you to draft a letter that we could all sign.
We can't, this isn't a voting.
Okay, all right.
Take it back to each city, then
Okay,
pass it around.
thank you.
Thank you.
The mayor could do it.
Any other comments? Any other public comments?
No, sir.
Seeing none, we will move on to the next agenda item. And thank you for a very healthy discussion about vacation rentals. I think it was introspective. With that, the county administrator, Sarah Corrier, would like to address updates on the CARES Act.
Thank you, Mayor Murphy, Chairman. We're going to do a brief update for you today on your CARES Act strategies, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, and coronavirus local strategies about testing, data, and statistics, as well as your vaccine distribution. You have two presenters today, Jacob Sauer, our Director of Public Safety, and Karen Stewart, the Deputy County Administrator. Jake will step forward first.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, elected officials. Good afternoon, Jake Sauer, Director of Public Safety for Manatee County. I'll give you a quick, brief update on COVID-19 and our vaccination pod set up here for Manatee County, and then I'll be able to take any questions you might have. I also have Dr. Bensey here with me that can further answer any questions that you might have as well. Okay, all the data included in this presentation is produced based off the most recent information available in Florida Department of Health and ACA databases, or as it is reported directly to public safety from local hospitals. In Manatee County, there have now been 28,064 residents to test positive for COVID-19, which unfortunately includes 498 confirmed fatalities. This is data from yesterday. As of today, that is over 500. This is an increase of almost 1,200 new cases since January 26, when I last provided a public briefing on the situation. In the last week, the percentage of tests that come back positive is 8.1%, which is about the same as my last report when the value was 8.2%. Manatee County EMS continues to see some long turnaround time at local hospitals and is working with leadership to address any issues. EMS staff will continue to monitor call volume, hospital capacities, and COVID patient counts closely and share this information with our hospital partners in our healthcare work group. The Manatee County Emergency Operations Center remains at a level 2 partial activation for the COVID-19 response and will continue to field any urgent requests from partner organizations for equipment, personnel, or other required resources. On slide 3, the graph shows the number of new positive cases per date, as well as a 7-day average, which smooths out outliers in the data to show a trend. Since September, a significant rise in the number of new cases recorded each day has taken place. However, the post-holiday peak may have passed, as data from the last week or two does show some decline in the number of new positive cases, which is certainly welcome news. Next slide. In the graph on slide 4, the bars represent the percentage of tests that are positive for COVID-19 each day since September, and the line is the 7-day running average. Like in terms of new positive cases, there was a spike around the holidays when people were traveling, but there has been a recent downtick in the percent positivity. That being said, the variable remains in excess of 8% over the past week, which is much higher than we would like to see, lower than 5%. For this variable, 10% is the threshold established by the Florida Department of Health as an important benchmark not to cross. Manatee County has exceeded this value on a number of days recently, including indicating that the pandemic has not ended. Slide number 5 provides data surrounding COVID-19 in our local hospitals and ICUs. There has been a noteworthy increase in the number of people in Manatee County hospitals and ICUs since mid-November, when there was 31 COVID positive people in the hospital itself and 5 in ICU. Those same numbers have reached as high as 102 in the hospital and 20 in ICU in January. However, a plateau or slight decline has been noted recently. Public safety will continue to engage with and assist our hospitals with any unmet needs through our healthcare workgroup and Florida Department of Emergency Management. To date, Manatee County has administered 16,050 shots, whether Pfizer or Moderna, via points of distribution at the Tom Bennett Park or the Public Safety Center. The number of vaccines administered each day continues to rise as we improve processes and as the state has begun to ship more to us each week. The county is ready and able to increase this output as more vaccines become available. And on January 29th, we opened 2 sites for the first time simultaneously, and we're able to vaccinate almost 2,000 people a day. We continue to encourage our residents to sign up for the vaccination registration pool, where residents 65 and greater are randomly selected to be vaccinated whenever new shipments of vaccine are received here in Manatee County. To date, over 100,000 unique users have signed up for the pool, but since couples are allowed to sign up together, this actually represents over 160,000 individuals in the pool. Web traffic has remained steady, and the site has functioned as planned. To sign up, the public should visit vax.mymanatee.org or call 311 if you need assistance with the registration process. And I want to stress that we are in a marathon, not a sprint, when it comes to vaccines. Our registration pool has hundreds of thousands of people in it, so it will take some time to reach everyone. The purpose of this slide is to remind everyone that we are operating fully within the scope of the state and federal guidance that has been released to date. The Governor's Executive Order 20-315 limits the population groups that can be vaccinated to include only those persons 65 and greater, those in long-term care facilities, and frontline healthcare personnel. Through an emergency public health advisory issued recently, residency restrictions were also implemented by the Florida Department of Health. And going forward, to be vaccinated, people must either provide proof that they live in Florida, at least part-time, or prove that they are frontline healthcare workers whom are providing medical services locally. And once these restrictions are lifted, Manatee County will revise the criteria for who can receive a dose and open vaccinations to additional population groups. I want to take a second to recognize the large group of people involved in this vaccination operation and all the hard work that they have been putting in. A team effort is required when talking about vaccine distribution in Manatee County. We are lucky to have one of the best, and I just highlighted a few here today, as there are countless others involved in this process. From the Medical Reserve Corps, the Department of Health, Manatee, to these groups listed here on the slide, there are countless partners all pitching in to get these vaccines into arms, and we just want to say thank you. This week will be the busiest week of the vaccination pod to date at the Manatee County pods, and there are both first and second shots being administered all week. Between yesterday and today, approximately 3,355 second doses will be given, followed by over 5,000 first doses being administered Wednesday through Friday. These events will all take place at the Tom Bennett Park. MCR Health and the Region 6 Incident Management Team both provided more targeted testing for both minority populations and for teachers. In the future, when vaccine supply chains are stronger, we anticipate the private sector, such as Publix, Walmart, Walgreens, etc., to take on a larger role in the vaccination process. Until those supply chains stabilize, we'll be largely relying upon the weekly allotments of vaccines that we receive from the state, and we will be distributing them through our vaccination pods. And with that, I can take any questions or comments that you might have.
We are getting emails, and I'm writing every one of them back, how unfair this is because we have a lottery versus registration. Well, registration they're doing in Sarasota. If I registered today, I would be at the bottom of the list. And from what I understand, they can do 1,000 a day, where we're doing 2,000 a day. Could you explain to all the elected officials here, Paul explained it last time, the process and how there's no way we can discriminate where they're coming from. You know, they think that people are showing favoritism. Can you explain so that all the elected officials in here hear what we're exactly doing?
Yes, I'm certainly not the expert on that, but I can tell you that when we receive an allotment of vaccinations from the Florida Department of Health, Dr. Bensey's team tells us how many to set for that week for the vaccination distribution center. We then have an in-house meeting of the plan and the incident action plan for that week and how we're going to distribute those mixed in with second doses that are already planned from the first time that you receive your first dose. And then from there, our IT team pulls from the vaccination list in a randomized order. They continue to do quality assurance weekly to make sure that every person in that vaccination pool is randomized before pulled, and then we schedule those, which we're doing today. We started yesterday for this week's vaccination site. First doses starting Wednesday through Friday.
Okay, yes, we have another comment.
Yes. Thank you, Jake. Can you please tell us if or when Manatee County may use Publix as a distribution site? We get a lot of questions from the public asking why they can't go to Publix when their friends can in South County.
Sure.
I mean, South Florida, excuse me.
I can't give you an answer on that. What I can tell you is those counties that are using Publix, they have gotten a partnership with Publix from the Florida Department of Health and the governor's office first because they are not able to push out vaccines fast enough. So the governor's office has partnered with Publix in those counties to assist them. Outside of Palm Beach tried a trial where there was no mass vaccination pod. It was just Publix's, and that did not work. When a county does get a partnership with Publix, that comes off of our weekly allotment. So when we get a vaccination Publix system set up in Manatee County, that will come straight off of our weekly allotment, not going to the Tom Bennett Park vaccination site.
That's very good information for the public to understand. And then secondly, could you please share with this group why Manatee County is not choosing to use the state registry for vaccines?
Sure. So as you know, we were one of the first counties to stand up a mass vaccination site through our Tom Bennett Park. Being one of the first comes with some growing pains. The growing pains that the state's currently experiencing with their share care system, we went through almost a month ago. We continue to talk closely with those counties that have chosen to go onto the share care system, and I feel that it's a step backwards from where we are today and the great success we've had with our vaccine waiting pool and our scheduling system at the Tom Bennett Park site. The state is not requiring any county to move to the share care system at this time. We continue to encourage residents to sign up through the vaccination waiting pool, and that process gets improved weekly. And I can tell you that no county within our region has any plans to switch to the state vaccination scheduling system.
Are there any other comments?
Got it. Telephone.
Yes. We have public comment.
Well, Mr. Chair, we have Mayor Schneier would like to make a comment.
I'm sorry,
Mayor Schneier.
Mayor Schneider. Longboat Key. Mayor Schneider from Longboat Key.
Let's get him unmuted. There we are.
I just wanted to address what Carol Wetmore was saying. You know, being partly in Sarasota County, we're very familiar with their system and the registration system that went into play about 2 weeks ago. She's right. When they opened it up, anyone could sign on starting at noon on the given day. And in order of the time you signed up is the order that you're entitled to get a shot. So I think we had something like 60,000 people sign up in the first hour, and that number has grown to well over 100,000 since then. So if you did sign up now, you would be at the end of that line.
Yeah, our vaccination pool, along with Sarasota's sign-up system, very similar in nature, other than they take the first in, first out. We take a randomized order. We have both seen the same amount of sign-ups on relatively the same amount of sign-ups on both sites.
Thank you. Are there any other comments here within the room or on the phone?
We do have one public comment.
Thank you.
Caller 445-445. Please press star 6 to unmute.
For the record, Glenn Giblina, thank you for this opportunity. Here's the problem I have as a taxpayer. We're thrown in this pool, okay, with all the other folks that are flying in and coming from different counties, and they got the same chance I do. Here's the problem I have. I have been in this community paying taxes for 46 years. I am 69 years old, and I am homesteaded. There needs to be filters that I should go, not in front of the line, but at least in orderly place in the line with other taxpayers from Manatee County, particularly that if they're homesteaded. So for all these other folks to jump in that pool and get in front of me, call it self-serving, call it what you want. But I have paid my dues and taxes in this community that when Manatee County allotment comes in, we should be taking care of our own first. I've heard of people going to 6 and 7 different counties and signing up. And when their number's called, they just go drive down there. I don't have that luxury. So the system is flawed. We need to take care of the residents first and go from there. So it's completely out of whack as far as the taxpayer and a homesteader in this community, and I've paid my dues, that it needs to be realigned and take care of our community first. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other public comment?
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So we'll close that topic and move on to the next part.
We have the update from the CARES Act from Deputy County Administrator Karen Stewart.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Murphy and elected officials. Karen Stewart. I'm going to give you a brief update of the CARES Act and then also the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Right, so just want to remind you about the CARES Act. Since there's been an extension, there's been a lot of questions about what is currently eligible. So we still have to follow the same 3 guidelines that we did when the CARES Act was originally enacted. All the expenditures have to be necessary due to COVID-19. They can't be accounted for in your most recently approved budget on March 27th, 2020. And they were incurred during the time period of between March 1st, 2020 and now through December 31st of 2021. So while the program has been extended, these requirements are still required to be met. I'm just going to give you a brief update from our dashboard as of last Friday. We have $6.4 million approved for nonprofits to provide services to our citizens. We have $30.8 million approved for economic recovery, which includes $18.3 million for businesses, $1.96 million for housing assistance, and $7.2 million for economic recovery for individuals, which includes food distribution and other human services type programs. So the process for extending for the CARES Act is not a simple one, of course. We received our money from the Treasury to the state to the county, so we're a subrecipient. We must notify the state liaison by January 29th, which we did. We have to submit an updated spending plan by the 5th, which we plan to do. And then once that spending plan is reviewed and evaluated by the state, they will provide an amendment to our current funding agreement for the extension. So right now we're in a little bit of a holding pattern until we get that amendment signed. We also had a webinar with the Florida Department of Emergency Management that talked about some of the rules. Again, the Treasury allows the deadline to be extended until December 31st of this year. And no changes were made to the eligible definitions for expenditures. The deadline extension is related to funds that were already allocated. And FDEM is allowing the extension only through June 30th. So where the CARES Act is extended till the end of the year, the state is requiring us to finish by June 30th. All programs included in the extension are based on the availability of funds. And since reimbursements for these expenditures will likely be due to the state by July 30th, in order to complete our payment process, the new rounds of funding will likely need to end earlier than June 30th. So here's our plan for the extension. It's just like phase 3 of our plan. It's not changed much at all. $5 million for public safety, for vaccine distribution and support, and all the activities that Jake talked about. Economic recovery for small businesses, $1 million. This will be open to all industry sectors that are active private for-profit businesses and have not yet received a CARES grant allocation. Many businesses have received 3 and 4 allocations of the CARES grant, so we want to make sure that all of our businesses have an opportunity. They must have a physical location in Manatee County and 500 employees or less. And we are including home-based and mobile businesses as well. And these businesses can receive the Economic Injury Disaster Loan or the Payroll Protection Program and still be eligible. The Open Safe Grant will open on February 8th. And this is on our website now, so you can take a look at that with all the dates for all of these openings. It will be for $5,000 for these PPE type equipment, also for any like configuration of a building, any glass, any software, marketing materials, and inventory. It's scheduled to be open on February 8th and will be open until the 15th or until 250 applications are received. And this gives us time to review applications and write agreements and disperse funds quickly. We learned some lessons in the first rounds, and so we've made some adjustments this time. We've streamlined our online application. We are creating a Zoom how-to so people can log onto our website and see how the application works. Click here, press submit. We had many applications in the first round that the person got through like 5 steps but then never clicked submit. Detailed instructions on how to fill out the forms on the website, the required forms. A checklist of all the forms that are needed. And then we'll have call takers who can provide navigation help. And we'll begin processing the applications on day 1. We won't wait for the applications to close this time. So this is based on some information that we got from applicants and also our own experience with the rounds. In addition, there'll be an economic recovery round for individuals. In the previous rounds, we had the Housing Assistance Program, which covered rent and mortgages. Because we have a new program that I'm going to tell you about in a minute, we are switching this over to the MAP program. So this program will be for mortgage assistance only. We'll be using those same guidelines we had before, but only for mortgages. This application is opened on February 22nd, and we'll be able to take 75 applications. We also plan to open economic recovery for individuals for $750,000. This is expansion of existing nonprofits who provided food distribution in a previous round. They'll be able to come back for additional monies for food. We're going to open this application on February 23rd, and it'll be open for 3 days only. Then we'll close it, we'll process, and if we have additional monies remaining, we'll open it again. We want to make sure that we can process it quickly, have the organizations purchase the food, and make sure we have enough funds available for those who apply. In addition, on this extension, current CARES applicants through our nonprofits, you can move it forward, are going to be able to extend their agreements that they had with us to allow them to draw down all of the funds. One of the things about CARES is that the rules change all the time, all along the way. And prior to December, we were told that we needed to have all the nonprofits bill us by December 3rd. So they had to stop what they were doing and send in their request for reimbursement. And then later, we found out that we were going to be able to get reimbursement from the state through January 10th, so we extended it till the end of the year, and now we're able to extend this till March 31st. So if they already had an agreement, they've been contacted by our staff, they've received a letter, they have the ability to opt in or say no thank you, I'm finished with my program. But I will say that this represents 95 amendments to agreements. We do have that amendment from the county attorney now, and we'll start executing those. And that total of those 95 amendments is $2.9 million. We'll also, under our community health and well-being area, have $4.2 million for the hospitals that provided services and testing and everything throughout the pandemic. Lakewood Ranch and Manatee Memorial will each be eligible for $100,000 in PPE and up to $2 million in reimbursement each for their loss during the time that the governor was prohibiting elective surgeries. We did offer this to the third hospital in the community, and they declined to participate. So I thought that might be a question. I thought I'd let you know. Also, we'll be opening for nonprofits again, $5,000 grants for those PPE items or reconfigurations for social distancing. We'll be opening that February 23rd through 26th, also 3-day window. They'll receive 100 applications. We'll receive 100 applications. Finally, in our extended spending plan, under the government and community facilities is the safe opening of public schools. Some of you might recall that in phase 3, we provided an opportunity for $3 million of school district funding to be reimbursed through CARES. They've already presented invoices in the amount of $1.7 million, and they are still eligible for up to 3. So we'll be working with the superintendent. We meet with her and her deputy every quarter. I think our meeting is next week, and we'll be working to make sure that these funds can be allocated to the school district. All right, so that's the CARES extension, and I'd like to stop right there before I go on to this other program, which is different funding, not CARES, something else, and see if there's any questions.
Yes, Commissioner Whitmore.
2 things. First of all, I heard for the first time today that the state, even though the federal government has allowed us till December to spend the money, the state's only allowing us till June 30th. So if we don't get the money that's duly due to us, which at one point it was $70 million, and I know we've spent some, but does that mean the state's going to keep that money that was supposed to go to us?
We don't intend that to happen at all. We intend to spend all of the money through this spending plan that we have.
Okay, so you think you can probably assure us that we will be able to spend that money before June 30th?
Our intention is to do so, yes. And through this plan that I just laid out, we anticipate being able to do that.
And all the changes that we've made to the plans and all the adjustments, there's many people that applied that got kicked out, as we all know. And there must be a database somewhere of their emails.
Yes.
Are we letting everybody know that everything's changed? Could they please go back to the site? Because that's important.
So what we're going to be doing is sending out an email to everyone who started an application but didn't get through the process. And then there's another group that finished their application but were not eligible for one reason or another. So we'll be reaching out to all of them via email in a lot of different ways. I'm going to talk about a marketing plan for the rental assistance, and that includes CARES in that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Van Osterberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Karen Stewart, I spoke with a couple school board members. You and I and Ms. Corrier met about this, I think it was yesterday, and they had some people had reached out to me, and their concern was that we had essentially $10 million in CARES Act from the round 1 that wasn't utilized, and they felt that they had needs and that they could justify, and they wanted essentially some of that money. When you and I spoke, just to summarize, you clarified that that is not money that's just sitting on the shelf that's not going to get used.
Nope.
That money ultimately will be spent. And we also touched on some things like, I think it was with the exception of overtime, salaries could not be, we could not use the money for salaries. And also, if the money was already allocated in your budget, then it was something that we could not use CARES Act money for either. But if you could, since we have the school board here, I think it's going to be a good opportunity for us to speak to that.
Thank you. Yes, all of the things that you stated are true. That's why I went through those 3 things that are required by the federal government in order to use the CARES Act money. So it has to be necessary due to COVID-19. There are a lot of things that, not the school district, but others have asked us for that are not necessary due to COVID-19. So that's the first test. The second is it can't have been in your budget on March 27th, 2020. And since for most nonprofits, we have this with nonprofits too, their employees, their salaries were already in the budget. So those cannot be paid with the CARES Act. And then finally, there's the time frame of March 30th now through December 31st. If anything changed in that, if there was any way that that ever was an opportunity for discussion, then we would certainly meet with the superintendent and have that discussion. I will say I'm going to start talking about the COVID-19 relief and Omnibus spending plan next. That was the new stimulus that was approved on December 27th. That does include funding for education stabilization. You'll see it kind of close to the bottom there. And I just quickly looked it up while I was waiting. That amount is going to be about 4 times the amount the school district received from CARES. And there's a caveat in the new spending plan. In CARES, the school district had to put money aside for private schools. And in the new spending plan, that's not required. So I'm not sure if the superintendent or someone knows about how that's going to roll out. We haven't been notified of that because a lot of things in this new spending plan, the county is not responsible for disseminating it.
Mayor Brown, you had a comment?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make sure that the citizens out there know that when you say Manatee County and then the municipalities, that this is everyone within the borders of Manatee County can apply. And I think sometimes when people are in the cities, they think, oh, well, we're not in Manatee County, and the cities aren't doing this because Manatee County is doing it. So we just want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding there from that standpoint.
Yes, sir. I can speak to that, actually. When we were launching CARES before and we were getting all the applications out, we actually contracted with chambers of commerce who did business walks in every single city in our county. And when we have a final report out in the end, you'll see that we have a very widespread distribution of the funds from Myakka to the island, from Parrish to South County. You know, it has reached throughout our county, and we have worked very closely with the cities to make sure that we get our information out in the cities. And yes, this next thing I'm going to talk about is also for cities as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so these are just some highlights of the new spending plan. You see vaccines, testing, healthcare and nursing homes, unemployment, we all know about that, the payroll protection program, and assistance for individuals, children, and families. And this is the emergency rental assistance program, and this is to be implemented by counties. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that now. So this is a $25 billion emergency rental assistance program. It's distributed from the Treasury directly to the county. So we don't have our state middle people anymore. We just have the Treasury and to us. 90% of the funds have to be used for the payment of rent, rental arrears, utilities, home energy costs, and other related housing expenses. And 10% can be used for administration and housing stabilization services. So we've developed some program guidelines based on what we were given from the package. The applicant must be a U.S. citizen or resident legal alien, a resident of Manatee County, including its municipalities, all of them, delinquent on rent payments due to COVID-19 on or after April 1st of 2020. The individual could qualify for unemployment or had received a reduction in household income because of the pandemic. And there's the eligible households are at 80% of the area median income, and I'm going to show you a slide on that in a minute. But the ones that are prioritized are those that are at 50% of the area median income and below, or those who have someone in the household who's been unemployed for more than 90 days. So assistance must be provided to the household to reduce their arrears before the household can receive assistance for future rent. The program can provide up to 3 months of assistance at a time, and the household can reapply at the end of the 3-month period if needed, and they haven't exceeded the overall time limit of 12 months. So here's that eligibility. You can see at 50%, that's $26,800 for a family of 1. Let's look at a family of 4. That's kind of more likely. $38,250 is the 50%, and the 80% is $66,100. So these are the income requirements for this assistance. So prior to launching the application, it's going to launch on February 16th. We will contract with nonprofits that we have a relationship with to provide utility assistance that's not included in the rent. So if someone is paying rent and their water and electricity are included in their rent, it'll get paid with the rent. If they have a separate Florida Power and Light bill or water bill, it'll get paid by one of these nonprofit providers, and we'll be working closely with them. We're going to collaborate with 211 and Season of Sharing to get the word out, and then also to refer people who may not be eligible for other services. We've already created policies and procedures for the emergency rental assistance temp manager. We've hired that person, and that person has started today. And we are hiring temp staff. We hope to have them hired by the end of the week. We'll get them trained up next week and be ready to roll on the 16th. We've developed our neighborly application, the same online portal, and we're providing program outreach and education. And I want to talk a little bit about that. Now, when we do this outreach and education, it's going to be for the rental assistance program, but it's also going to be for the CARES Act at the same time. So we want to bring awareness of the funding and assistance to the residents who are most in need of the assistance. We want to explain how the application process works. You know, it seems easy to us, but it doesn't seem easy to everyone. We want to provide checklists in advance so that people can get their documents together and have them ready when they get to their computer. We are promoting getting the 2020 taxes filed. This is really important, and we'll be putting this out a lot. We're going to be putting a list of places where you can get your taxes filed for free on our website. If a family gets their 2020 taxes filed and they're eligible based on their tax return, then we don't have to do their income verification for the remainder of the program. We just have to do their COVID eligibility. So this is really important. If they have their taxes done, they upload their taxes, they're in one of those income guidelines, they're eligible. So I guess I mentioned the free tax price. So we're going to assist with clear-cut guidelines and troubleshooting when they have questions. We're going to do press releases. You've probably already seen some of those. We're going to be doing mailers to targeted areas, reaching out to landlords and landlord associations, apartment complexes. We're going to target employees of the hardest hit businesses, so hospitality and restaurant. We're going to partner with chambers to reach employers. We plan to work with the school district to get the information out into the homes of children who are attending our schools. We're going to utilize our neighborhood influencers who use social media. A lot of the people that we want to reach for this program don't read the paper. We're also going to use Nextdoor, which a lot of you know is an online platform. We're going to have signs, flyers, and the whole community is going to be blanketed with information. We want to get the word out to everyone. So again, our strategies are to get the information out, give checklists on what are needed, get those Zoom recordings for how to complete applications, and the W-9. A lot of the applications for housing, for businesses, for almost everything, we had to ask for a new W-9 almost every time. It's complicated the way it needs to be filled out, so we're going to have a sample on our website and a tutorial. We're also going to have staff navigators to assist with the application process, and we'll be taking calls on the very first day. So, questions?
Any other comments here in the room? We have one public comment.
445, please press star 6.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Glenn Jablina for the record. Let me give you a perspective from a renter's view. All right, so here's a letter I received. I wasn't sure exactly who to email regards to further rental. I've attached my late notice for January. I was approved and payments are being processed for 2020. However, I'm in the same struggling situation. Single mom, special needs kid, lost her job because her kid can't go back to the school district. Do I need to reapply for this month? I would appreciate any help on how to go about doing this. Here's their response. Thank you for your inquiry. The Manatee Cares Housing Assistance Program ended December 2020, and we are not recertifying people from that round for January or February rental assistance. Manatee County is in the process of developing a new emergency rental, and we do not anticipate having the program available until mid-February. We encourage you to check with Manatee County websites for funding. However, they also may have exhausted all their resources. So that went out to the existing 460 folks that were hoping for that umbrella to continue. You had millions of dollars left over. You would have thought, instead of kicking these tenants to the curb, that saying, hey, You're on your own till March, until we get the new application. You would have thought somebody would have had the vision within the administration to say, hey, we need a bridge loan for these 460 folks because they are really struggling. We've got verification on it, and we need to continue the rent payments for January and February. Nobody had that vision. So now you send out this letter saying, you're on your own, we're kicking you to the curb. You incite more anxiety and fear and despair to the very folks that needed it. Absolutely disappointed in how that huge 3-month gap is being occurred. When you're sitting on millions of dollars, you could have done a bridge loan to help these folks. And what do instead? You kick them to the curb. Come back in March. Hopefully your landlord's not too pissed off. We'll try to work things out. That's the CARES Act. That's from a tenant's view, not the dog and pony show you heard. That's actually from a tenant. So I would like you to address those concerns. And by the way, each and every one of your commissioners are aware of that because I sent you the exact letter. So help me understand that. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other
respond?
public comments?
Yes, sir.
There are no other public comments.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a quick question?
Yes,
Over here, Van Austin Bridge.
yes.
What is a neighborhood influencer?
So
I'm
I'm
just
not
curious.
one. But through our neighborhood services department, who go out and do community meetings and work together with the community all the time to have programs.
Gotcha.
And
I am familiar with the program. I just didn't know the term neighborhood influencer.
I
Good
got
to
it
know.
straight from Simone.
Okay, thank you.
You know that's going on his LinkedIn profile right now.
Thank you. Good.
I thought we were doing it on TikTok or something.
Thank you very much.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
Does that conclude, Sherry, does that conclude your
Thank
presentation?
you, Chairman Murphy. Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to the next topic, it would be a brief discussion on charter government by Commissioner Cruz. Commissioner Cruz, if you would, please.
Sure, thank you. And the Honorable Gene Brown already pointed out the word brief that I put on this agenda. So I'll be brief because this really wasn't a deep discussion. We've had deep discussions this in the past. This is more kind of in this body is just to let you know that it's something I'm looking into and I believe in. Every few years this comes up, and I feel it comes up for good reason. The last time was 2017, it's about 4 years ago, and that kind of just died away. But I mentioned the charter back in December in my commissioner comments. I had mentioned it over the course of my campaign, so I don't think this is kind of surprising anybody for anyone who is paying attention. But what a charter is essentially is home rule, and I appreciated the hot topics from the city of Anna Maria because you're kind of reaffirming where I'm coming from, but at a slightly different level. Because right now the state of Florida is dictating to you what you can and can't do when it comes to vacation rentals. And that's just one example that was brought up by everyone. Well, I get where you're coming from, but we're under the same thumb from an unincorporated standpoint, from a county-wide standpoint, because we also have vacation rentals. We can't do anything about it. We could stand with you and support you at homerule.com and push for that. I was aware of that bill. I'm against that bill. I think that's terrible, because to say that Bradenton Beach or City of Anna Maria or Holmes Beach or Wumbo Key or anyone should be subjected to the same rental rules that Orlando is subjected to, which is a tourist hotspot, or the same rules that a Sebring, somebody with one house per 5 acres, is subjected to, where a party house isn't interfering, is just poor policy by the state of Florida. And so that's just one example, but you understand where I'm coming from, that having anyone over you dictate what you can do and incorporate you into the greater state of Florida is just not productive, because you know better what your citizens want, what your individual community wants, than what the state of Florida could ever know. And the reality is 80% of the people who live in the state of Florida live in a chartered county right now. A disproportionate number of people have taken upon themselves to tell the state of Florida, hey, we know a little bit more than you know about the specifics of our community, how we as citizens want to be governed within our community, so we're going to take some of those things away from you. And right now, Manatee County is the second largest county to not have a charter. So, smaller counties just say it's not worth their time, it's not worth their effort. They'll trust the state of Florida. They just don't have the same issues. But as you get larger, as you go from a small 50, 100,000 person to a 203, now we're 410,000. I'm guessing higher than that once the census comes out. It's about time we have some say. And more importantly, it's time that our citizens have a say, because this isn't a perceived power grab of our government over our people. This is essentially giving the power grab to our people over our government. There are things that right now the citizens of Manatee County have no control over. They elect 7 people once every 4 years. And then for 4 years, they're just subjected to whatever crazy stuff we decide to come up with. But with a charter, they get to talk to us. They get to tell us what they want and how they want us to rule them. Like if you look at Sarasota, they've got a charter. They were one of the first. It was from 1971. Over these past couple months, I've downloaded and read all 20 of the county charters multiple times. So I'll use them as an example. They're similar size. They have things like, and I'm not saying these are going to be there, but they have things like term limits and limits to financing for campaigns, things of that nature. They have recall provisions. These are things that the people of Sarasota over time elected to impose on their government to themselves. We can't do any of that because the state of Florida prohibits it. Just like we can't tell the state of Florida, even if you're successful, and we'll stand with you fighting a vacation rental ordinance across the entire state, that doesn't affect us. We can help all of our municipalities, but we're still subjected to whatever the state of Florida says from our standpoint. Because, my goal is to give the voice to the people. It's not to take voices away or power away from municipalities. And that's something I'll tell you right now, because I know that's a concern for municipalities and districts and constitutional officers. I want to take 0 things away from you. You all govern yourself way better than we can govern you. It would be disingenuous of me to say I want to take away some of your home rule while saying I want my home rule. That's just not that's not what I'm trying to get at. I would want our charter, and if you look at all 20 charters, I believe with the exception of one, and that was a negotiated one down in Broward, no county charter in the state of Florida takes away municipal rights. It's just not what's done. It's something that people who don't want charters tell municipalities can happen, but it just doesn't happen. The onus of getting that put onto a charter is so high, and the population of the municipalities is so great that ever getting a vote to ever put that on there is virtually 0. Is it 0? No, admittedly. But it's never, other than like I said, one down in South Florida, it's never happened. So, ideally what I want to look into is just, what they call a starter charter. Basically what that is you create a charter that's identical to what we have today. You would wake up one morning, vote on a charter, next morning you wake up, you're governed the exact same way. You know no difference. But what it does is, if and when the people of Manatee County do want to change and do feel that this government is overstepping their bounds or we're growing a little too big and we need to do something different, it gives them the framework to make that change in a timely and efficient and meaningful manner. Because right now, if someone said, hey, we should look into capping and restricting the bonding capacity of our government, they can't do that today. Hey, we want to implement term limits. Or, hey, some of these races are getting crazy with hundreds of thousands of dollars in there. We want to implement finance restrictions. They can't go out and do that tomorrow. They can't go out and start getting petitions for 10%. They have to start a whole process of a charter first. And this is a multi-year process. All we're saying is, let's put this in place, give it to the people of Manatee County, look identical what we have today, but sometime in the future, maybe it's immediately, maybe it's 6 years from now, maybe it's 20 years from now, maybe it never happens. There are charters that still are essentially starter charters that adhere to the state of Florida. But it gives the people of Manatee County a voice and an opportunity to request and make changes for how they are governed going forward. So that's all I wanted to say was this is just a process I'm starting. I just want to let everyone know here, as opposed to seeing it in a newspaper or hearing it secondhand. It's basically at this point, unless anyone wants to help me, a one-man exploratory committee to start looking into this. I've talked to Ginger, I've talked to League of Women Voters, I've read all the charters, but I do want to acknowledge that historically it is municipalities, it is constitutional officers that do have to kind of get behind this and get on board with it And so I want to open it up for, not necessarily today because I'm trying to keep it brief, but certainly today if you want, but open it up to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to come meet with any of you. I'd love to hear the concerns. I'd love to hear why this died in 2017, what I can do to alleviate some of those concerns and see if we can all work together to make this happen. We've started and stopped, I believe, 3 times. So, I'd like this 4th time to kind of succeed. So I'd rather succeed as a group as opposed to trying to ram something through myself. So that's all I wanted to say was just kind of put it out there on the table and open it up for anybody to reach out at any time. I'll happily, like I said, come sit at your office and hear what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and how we can all work together to maybe get this on the book so that the citizens of Manatee County can start telling us how we should be leading them as we continue to grow over these years. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cruz. Are there any comments in the room here?
We should pass that to Bill.
Yes, we have a comment.
Yeah, Bill Sanders, City of Bradenton. Are you proposing a citizens review for this charter?
I believe all charters have a citizen review. It's between 11 and 15 people. It's either appointed by the board or however they're structured. There's different ways. But to get it started, it's a long process. To get it started, you can either have the citizens get it started, which typically is, I believe, 15% of the vote. So it's like 40,000 petitions. It's almost impossible. Or just that the Board of County Commissioners can essentially start the exploratory committee, hire or elect the people or appoint the people. Like I said, it's 11 to 15 people. Then they have 18 months to write up the initial charter. They have 3 different public hearings on it. Then it has to go for votes. And then even once that's done, it still goes on an actual ballot and gets voted on. So nobody's cramming anything down anyone's throat here because it's out in public. Everyone sees what's happening. At the end of the day, the people of Manatee County get to decide if that charter is something that they actually want. So that kind of gives us some protection over overreach from anybody.
So that committee is only appointed by the county commissioners. The cities have no say?
Again, that's my understanding. I'm not an expert in charter other than what I've read and done the best I can to understand, so I'm not going to promise anything to you.
Right, I understand. There are people that do that for a living.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, there are. No, like I said, I've talked to Ginger. Last time this came up in 2017, she came down and gave, I think it was like a 2-hour meeting. In fact, the link's on this agenda. That's one of the reasons we put it on there. So you can see a pretty deep dive if you want to dig into it because she's the expert. She's executive director of the Florida Association of Counties.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes. Commissioner Williams.
Commissioner Cruz, there were several things that you said that I would disagree with. I've got all kinds now. One of the things you said, it doesn't take away from the city's rights. A lot of different counties that have tried to generate the charters have found that if they would try to put in an opt-out clause for cities. So I suggest that if we do try to look at this, that be something that's done. Let the cities opt out. It won't hurt anything if it doesn't take away any of their rights, so it's not going to hurt them then. I think that let me look at my notes here. The constitutional officers, you said, could get behind it. Of course, they can get behind it because they're not going to be affected. Amendment 10 took out everything for them, so they're safe. They're going to stand behind it, or at least they would think about it. At this point, it'd be a lot easier. So I think that becomes a problem. I think that the biggest thing is that a charter government does not give. If it gives rights to the county that they don't already have, what does it take away from the city? You say it doesn't. It seems to take away something from the city in the way of the home rule. But I think that we have to think deep and hard on this before we even consider it. It was a bad fight the last time. I don't want to see this county go through it again. I think we need to really talk about it in this format and discuss all of the issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Yes, Commissioner Whitmore.
I'm willing to listen, but I don't, I've been through it twice. It happened, I don't remember it even happening in 17, except when they were trying to fire Ed Hunsaker, and they brought Ginger down to talk about this form of government because we didn't like, or some didn't like, our current form of government. That's all I remember. But I was involved when I was mayor, and Chappie was mayor, and our district commissioner, we were actually sitting in this room talking about it, and that's actually how this all started, this actual meeting, because of charter government. And we went into the lobby and asked for our district commissioner, Jane Von Hammond, to meet with all the cities. And she says, I don't represent you guys. I represent the entire county, our district commissioner. So it may not affect the cities now, Commissioner Cruz, but it could. And being a former mayor, again, I can understand where they're coming from. But I don't mind listening to it. But I know Kevin had said at a meeting that he wasn't really quite in support of it either. So I believe in, and he represents 5 of the 6 cities. So again, I think now, guys, if you really have an issue, you really need to tell Commissioner Cruz, because I know some of you do, and he needs to hear from you, and that'll help him make a decision on how he wants to talk to you. And, you know, when you're on a campaign trail, you make a lot of promises, and a lot of them you can accomplish, and some of them you can't. But now that you're on this side, you can see maybe where your duly elected citizens, your elected officials are coming from.
Thank you, Commissioner Whitmore. We have a comment at the end of the table. I can't see who it
Carl
is.
Callahan, the City of Bradenton.
Okay, thank you.
And just in preparing a little bit for this topic today, when I looked at a couple of things, and this may be more for Mr. Clegg than anyone else, and you look at non-charter, for the most part, non-charter counties, ordinances and things that are passed, that in case of a conflict, the municipalities, basically, their ordinances rule. But I guess in a charter county, the county decides which prevails in a matter of a conflict. So if there's a conflict out there and you pass a general rule that's in conflict with our municipal ordinance, you decide whether it's going to go forward with it. Unless, of course, you make a broad determination that you're not going to do that.
And that's actually in almost every single charter. Like I said, I've got them all. And charters, a vast majority of them, will clearly state in the event of a conflict, the municipality rules. It says it right in the charter. And again, you have to switch a charter. And then you can structure it to change a charter. It requires 60% vote. Well, you're going to have over 40% of the voting block on a countywide basis living in a municipality in the first place. The onus of even having someone propose, hey, let's change it and say now let's have the county have control over municipalities is, I just don't see it being reasonable. Is it impossible? Of course it's not possible. But, you know, everyone is dealing right now, like we said, with whether or not Florida is going to take away the individual municipalities' rights to determine how vacation rentals work. So, you know, there's always a chance when you've got a different set of government that somehow is in conjunction with you and aligned with you and working next to you, that someone's going to do something. I mean, the state of Florida is trying to basically take away our Port Authority rights when it comes to, you know.
But the issue in Manatee County is not that the biggest majority live in municipalities. In this instance, the biggest majority do not live in cities. So that would be different than other places. Even in Sarasota, you may have Northport and Sarasota, which make up over 120,000 people. Here, when you combine all our cities between Palmetto, the beaches, and us, we're not going to get anywhere close to a majority. So that's a huge difference here in Manatee County when you look at that.
Thank you. Commissioner Van Osterbridge.
Thank you, and I would agree with what Mr. Callahan just said, and of course the county, we're expanding through urban sprawl, so unincorporated county is what's growing. There's limited growth to take place in our actual cities, and then of course on the islands you've seen a construction boom with residency going off the cliff at the same time. You could annex more. That's up to, that's your prerogative. Right, that's your prerogative. But I do worry that this is, I hate to use the word power grab, but that it erodes the autonomy of the cities, I would say. And since 3 cities on Anna Maria Island are in my district, the town of Longboat Key and the city of Bradenton all within my district, I would certainly have a fight on my hands if I supported this. So I don't see myself supporting charter government moving forward. And a good example would be what we just discussed at the beginning of the meeting, which is vacation rentals. I'm a member of the Association of Realtors. We're the largest private property rights advocates in the country. And so I, for the most part, have fundamental differences with the cities when it comes to vacation rentals. I'm a bigger advocate for property rights. And I would never want to force a county ordinance on cities when it comes to that, because you would have people out in Lakewood Ranch ultimately deciding what is best for the residents on Anna Maria Island. And I don't think that should be the case. The cities have their autonomy for a reason, and I would not want to infringe on that.
No, and I agree. But by that logic, I also don't want the people in Tallahassee passing ordinances infringing on the people in Lakewood Ranch, which is what we're essentially allowing to do by not having a charter. They're making an argument that such a vast minority of the overall county lives in municipalities, therefore the vast majority shouldn't also have home rules. Kind of what the argument we're making is.
So instead of the people in Tallahassee deciding, the people in Lakewood Ranch are deciding. You're trading one master for another.
Agreed. I agree.
All right.
Commissioner Jim King.
Yes, Jim King from City of Holmes Beach. I'm a little unclear as to why we would look to what the need for a starter charter would be at this particular time. It sounds to me it's like a solution looking for a problem. I'm unclear as to what exactly, Commissioner Cruz has said it's would be a framework when citizens want changes. Well, if it's not broken, why do we need to change it? And so what are the problems? What are the particular provisions that the commissioner would see in the in this charter form of government? And I think the last thing would be, because the devil's in the details, okay? So I understand it's kind of broad brush, but what are you asking the cities to commit to? I think we need a little bit more meat on the subject. I agree with Commissioner Williams about the strongly considered that cities be given the opportunity to opt out if they disagree with any of the provisions. If it's not going to affect us, then it should not affect us. Thank you.
Mayor Chaffee.
Yeah, Kevin, we're going to have a discussion about a couple items, not charter, so we won't get into it. I agree with what the other cities are saying. The big concern I have, and I alluded to it a little earlier about Tallahassee taking away our home rule. It's about trusting government, nothing personal. I've been involved in local government for a long, long time now, but I don't trust government, and I don't want. We are. That's why it's so important to make it clear, make it open, make it transparent. It's about good government. Vanessa earlier today was talking about. I wrote it down because I thought it was good comments. She said we are local government, improving quality of life. I agree with her totally on this, but I think you need to remember that the municipalities are the grassroots of government, and this opportunity to make it easier is what I'm seeing. If you get a charter, you start with a starter charter, to make the changes that would eventually start really chipping away layers of the home rule authority that we have today. We are, and for us having that ability to govern at the most basic level, the local level. I think we pretty much all agree here as far as representing the people in our government. It's about governing from the bottom up, not the top down. We get enough of that from Tallahassee, and now we have to be on guard because of the county government, and that's a fear that we have. We've been screwed over before, and I don't want it to happen again. And I like roadblocks. I like walls. I like barriers of some type. And I'm going to continue to fight for that because I really firmly want the people to have that opportunity to have that local government is what I call it. This is local government. To me, the cities are the local. It's our grassroots. It's our neighbors. It's where we grow up. It's where we raise our families. We don't have to Zoom, as you were talking about earlier today, to talk with our constituents. We just yell over the fence. Or they catch us at the grocery store. Some of you get caught at the grocery store, but these are our neighbors. We know, every street in our neighborhoods. And I see this, and I think a lot of the other cities see this as a potential threat to our ability to really represent the people at the local level, at the grassroots level. And that's what we do. That's why we move to certain communities, because we want to live in that type of community, which gets into the discussion we need to have. And we can change the rules, or we can get with our local officials and work that way. County's another step. I've been there at both levels, and I will tell you, it's all the difference in the world between a county government and the city government. It's huge. So, I'm interested in hearing what everybody has to say. I am not in favor. I don't think we need to go down this path. If there's a problem, let's look at it. Let's deal with it. We have in the past. We have the accord that we were able to work out years ago, and for the most part, it has worked. We have so many different interlocal agreements and other types of agreements between the municipalities and the county that we've been able to solve a lot of the issues we have. But if the county has I really see this more, if not all, this is an issue of whatever it is. And I'm not sure it's been said here, but I see this as an issue of the unincorporated areas in Manatee County. And I would like to see you exhaust the different types of changes that you might be able to do without changing the form of government, the process we have here in Manatee County to go through all of this. That's where I stand right now. I appreciate it. I think it's good discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Gruver-Brandt.
Yes, I really just want to make a comment. I've been involved in government for 27 years, much of that time just serving on boards and volunteering in the community, but really government. I've been mayor for 12 years. Like Carol, I've been through this before, and I would suggest my opinion on it is a big no. It's not needed. It's not timely. It's inefficient. It's ineffective, and it's actually very divisive. And in a time where we need to be working together, this should be kicked to the curb summarily and done with. We do not need to have this being pushed upon us. And we know as the door opens, oh, but that could be changed or that could be changed. We don't need that. We need closure on this. We need to move on and address some of our issues. This is not an issue. This merely appears to me to be a power grab. And whether you want to phrase it that way or not, that's what it is. It's very divisive. We've done it before. It's just going to be so hugely divisive. These elected officials and myself, we need to be working cohesively, not on a useless issue for just a temporary fix on something that's not needed. So I would say let's summarily finish this conversation and move on to important issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Chair Baugh.
Yeah. Wow. I got to say, I remember a couple of years ago, a few years back, when this was brought up, and I believe it was brought up by the League of Women Voters, I believe it was, who was trying to get petitions done to have this put on the ballot. But after listening to Mayor Chappie, I still can't get used to that, I have to agree with him, because I also remember the first time I ran in 2011, 2012, Lakewood Ranch was on the ballot to become a city. And the reason it wanted to become a city was because it didn't like Manatee County government. So they felt, a lot of the residents felt, that if they became a city, they could have more control. I believe the word home rule was used. Believe it or not, we have the same problem. We have party homes in Lakewood Ranch as well. So that being said, I've heard a lot of comments here. I don't think it's a power grab. I wouldn't go that far. I don't think that's it at all. What I think it is that commissioners are hearing from more and more residents, especially in the unincorporated areas of Manatee County. Because really, let's face it, if you're not in the unincorporated area of Manatee County, then you live in a municipality. So it's a whole different ballgame. So the problem is that we are hearing more and more unhappiness with Manatee County government. Now, the situation is we as county commissioners need to be looking at that going, what do we need to do to change the way we run our government? And as bad of a subject as that is, we are living it right now every day. And it's not fun. But at the same time, we have an obligation to our citizens, just like all of you do that are in municipalities. You know, you try to make decisions that are the right decisions for your citizens. Well, we have that same responsibility in the unincorporated areas. And there's a lot of unhappiness. So, you know, there's a lot of discussion. You know, I'm hearing from a lot of people that are saying, oh, what is going on in my county government? It's called change. We are looking to change the way we look. And I think Commissioner Van Ostenbridge, he says it all the time, and I don't know, now it's clicking. Culture. We have to change our culture in local government on how we do things, how we think about things, and what our priorities are. Just like I'm sure at the school board, you guys have this situation a lot of times as well. You know, unfortunately, we are a different government. We are not a municipality. Sometimes I wish we were, but we're not. But we have to change the way we think because a lot of our citizens are unhappy. And I can't blame them. I'm one of them. And I got to tell you, I'm not happy with a lot of things that's gone on in local government. And that's not one person in particular. It's just how we look at things, how we make decisions, how we, you know, come up with a plan. We need to change that. So I would ask all of you who I've known for years that are sitting around this table, I've worked with you going on 9 years, most of you now, and you guys know what I'm talking about. And y'all know because you live it every day, being in a municipality. So help us realize the changes that we need to make to take care of our citizens better. Because we have a lot of citizens that really aren't happy, and that's why we are seeing the unhappiness. And Mayor Chappie, that's exactly the reason I was saying today what I did. You know, about we forget sometimes, and it's not that we mean to, but sometimes we forget that we're really here because of our citizens. We answer to the citizens. And so help us with that, and we all work together. We all make a great team. We always have. And, you know, we need to continue moving forward. So I ask for your assistance in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Whitmore.
Just real quick, if I recall, Lakewood Ranch they were going to do a poll to see if they wanted to do kind of like the town of Longboat Key and split it up because it will be between two counties. And I remember Lakewood Ranch telling me, well, we decided not to go for it because we know the rules in Manatee County and we know the rules in Sarasota County. So if we form a charter, another government, we're going to be paying the taxes in Manatee County plus additional taxes when you live in a city. And the rules are going to change. So we are happy. And that's what I was told by the head of Lakewood Ranch is why they did. So, you know, to get real, you know, I understand unfortunately, when you have citizens come to your meeting, they're never happy. If they're going to bring you flowers, you probably have a stroke, right? Let's all face it. The citizens that usually call us or are not, that attend are not happy. But we as a county have 411,000 people. And we maybe see 10 or 20. And so, to me, sometimes we react to the loudest. And you all have the same problem. I know that, Mayor. So, you know, it always happens. But just to put it in perspective, Lakewood Ranch did that because I was told we already know the rules, and why should we start another form of government and have to have them completely change everything else and pay more money on it? So that's what happened there. And I remember distinctly because I asked them.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Ms. Whitmore, it was actually on the ballot. The people in Lakewood Ranch voted and voted it down.
And they were happy that it didn't pass.
Yes. Well, some were not.
Thank you. Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Chairman. And that's why when I looked at Commissioner Cruz when this was coming up and put brief, because this isn't a brief subject. And it's not something that we're going to as cities and municipalities take lightly when somebody, whether it's innocent or not, is going to seem like a power grab to us. And, there's a lot of opportunity for it to be a power grab down the road. And whether it comes in right now as innocently, and I took his microphone too. So I did that purposely, yeah. So wanted to do that, but no, but I'm always about the citizens and what we do together as a group and working together. But when it sounds like majority rules, and when you go through things, it sounds like there's an opportunity here to probably stop this now, because this would be divisive. And there's been enough divisive in our community in the recent, whether it's deserved or not, it's there. And I think that if it's not divisive to the cities, then, like Commissioner Williams said, take us off the table, and the county can have their own discussion. And that would be an opportunity to not have to worry about people seeming that it was a power grab, whether it is or not. So, one of the things that all of us are here to serve is our citizens, but we also are elected in a smaller vacuum than maybe the county commissioners are, and we need to work together, but we also don't need to continue to go down a road of negativeness, and all that would do is this would bring that, in my opinion, and I believe that we need to move forward. And again, if it's something the county wants to do, take the municipalities off the table, and we'd be fine with it.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. We have a comment, County Commissioner.
James Satcher, County Commissioner, District 1. So when George would talk about this on the campaign trail and on his Facebook Lives, my eyes would glaze over. It was just too technical. But now you kind of see a little bit of where the rubber meets the road. I think that he's saying one thing over and over again that everyone in the room is either pretending to not understand or is ignoring, and that is, if there's any power that he wants to grab, he wants to take it from Tallahassee, not from y'all sitting around the table. I mean, that's exactly what he said multiple times. Yeah. If you want to have a conversation with him and say, actually, the way these happen is that's not what happens, then you should do that. But what he's saying is he wants to see, the power that's there come back to this county. I think that's a reasonable case that he's making. Obviously, if you ask anyway, I won't say that comment, but maybe this is not the audience. The real question is, what would the people of Manatee County think, though? So, if the municipal leaders are going to shout you down for having this thought, maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, and they do represent people. They're voted in for a reason. But if it was, very popular with the people, I like the idea of term limits. And I am curious now, I'm curious after the conversation, what are the biggest selling points, for you? Why are you so interested? Obviously, I like term limits, but what else do you say, this is something amazing we could get out of this? Then, bring it to the people, bring it to this table if you want. I don't know what kind of reaction you'll get on that. And then the other thing, over and over again, I'll just say, to say, well, then the cities don't want to be involved, opt out. That's disingenuous, because the benefits of being in Manatee County, which we've gone over for a little while, they're going to still want the benefits. So maybe the best thing would be to have a conversation with George outside of this, or y'all can keep on just one after another, tearing them down, whichever. But I think he came here with, wanting to help people and do something worthwhile, and have a conversation about how Manatee County, we're growing. And like it or not, right, I'm parish, Ellington, North River Ranch, Metroplex, right? You understand why I smile when I say that. Is parish used to be just tomato fields, and now there's a whole lot of people there. So there's a lot of change here, and one thing might be smart to get in front of some of it, because as time goes by and Tallahassee is farther away than Manatee County, than our downtown complex. So just some food for thought. I'm not throwing in on it one way or the other. Like I said, I hadn't paid a whole lot of attention, but I'll throw in for my fellow commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mayor Chaffee.
Yeah, Commissioner, I think we understand what he's saying. That's not, I don't think you're understanding quite what we're saying about how this ends up typically. And it doesn't end up well for the cities. It's just the way it always works out. And I know you're new at this game, but I give you credit. You're a very intelligent man, I'm sure. But that's not the way it works out. And we've seen it over and over again. We've seen the way of our lives, the way of our communities disappear because of the continuous attacks, again, on the home rule by a bigger government than us.
We're smaller than Tallahassee, though. Address that.
I understand. But if you have a problem, and if you're getting a problem, people coming to you for the county, the unincorporated areas, then dadgummit, you need, as an individual elected official, to find out what these people want for the unincorporated areas. We don't get those same issues as you do. You know, my friend Kevin over here, we're going to have a conversation, a friendly conversation about the party houses and strict property rights. We're all about strict property rights. I'm a huge personal property rights individual. But you know what? When I moved to Bradenton Beach, or when most of us move to certain types of communities or HOAs, it's because they understand what type of community they're moving into. And they understand there are rules and regulations set down there that can't be changed. But what happens with the municipalities is they can be changed because Tallahassee did it. And I don't want to get into this situation where the numbers don't work for us in the cities, municipalities, in this county. They don't work for us. Because once you get your starter charter going, okay, we'll just make a little amendment here or here. And you gradually chip away at what we're able to do with our home rule and our abilities to govern at the most basic level, the local level, the neighborhoods, our communities. That's what we're concerned with. And you know, we're going to continue to and we understand. We do. So, you know, I just want you to understand that we do get it. And again, I realize you're new at this, but it doesn't work out that way.
And just a comment to follow up with John. Those of us who were around here are skeptical for a reason. We were here 20 years ago when this came up, and it wasn't a friendly discussion about charters. It was we're going to do this or else, and that's when the Accord came about. So the veterans who were there over at the fairgrounds trying to hammer this all out are skeptical because of the way it happened before. You know, you can prove us wrong and maybe a different approach, but boy, you got to put your antenna up and start watching what's going on right at the very beginning before you get run over.
Thank you. We have one public comment on the phone.
Yes, sir. 445. 445. Please press star 6.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can. All day.
Brian Gibbolator for the record. Here's my spin on this. All the people that don't want charter government, they don't want to be disrupted in their comfort zone. Charter government allows 12 to 15 citizens to oversight what you do in your decision. And if you make a bad decision, the Citizens Oversight Committee will call you to task. And that's been lacking, not only in the county, but the municipality. And I'll give you just 2 examples. Let's talk about the Florida statutes and disposition of county and municipality property for affordable housing. In 2007, the state says, look, you need to come back every 3 years, give us an inventory of your property, let's see what's affordable, and let's get it out there for affordable housing. Because we are in a crisis of affordable housing. So an example would be the city of Bradenton. Not once in 13 years has that municipality ever filed with the state on their surplus property. Do you think that would ever happen if there was a charter government? They wouldn't let it go past 2007 or 2010 or 13 or 16 or 19 like they have been. That's why you need that. The county, they filed once in 13 years and got it right. So you're all in violation of that statute that the charter government would never tolerate. Not for 3 years, not for 6 years, not for 9 years, that you've been getting away with it. And the second issue I want to talk about is a charter government, the oversight of the citizens would never allow a deal like 920 to go through, where they're going to put attainable housing. You do it for 12 years. The building's not even knocked down. You might get 8 years out of it, and you want to call that affordable housing. Not even the HUD standards for 30 years. If there was a charter government with citizen oversight, you think that deal would ever go through? Not on your best day, because it's the citizens that own that building, and we want to dispose of in a proper way, and we want long-term affordable housing rents. And what does the city do? They take that same crappy deal and they say, oh, we're restricted by the land use. No, they are not. They could easily raise the bar and say, you know what, 920, we want 30 years, just like a HUD standard. Or better yet, we want the life of the building.
You have 15 seconds, sir.
And all I'm saying, if there was a charter government and a citizen oversight, this crap would not go on. It would have never got to first base. I'm with you, George. Let's go get it.
Thank you very much. Our next caller we have.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
583. Please press star 6.
Oh, gosh.
Please press star 6. There you go.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, it's Lee Whitehurst, East Manatee Fire Rescue. For one thing, we just wanted to let the record reflect that we were attending.
Please, your name for the record, sir. We didn't get your name for the record.
Okay, it's Lee Whitehurst, Chief at East Manatee Fire Rescue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, and also our question would be relating to home rule is, does anybody know how this may affect the independent fire districts?
Good question. Very good question. Lee, I don't think so.
I don't see any answers in the room, sir.
I think that, the history for the fire districts when the talk of consolidation has come up in the past, even before this group, I think everybody knows how the fire districts feel about that. So the fire districts may be concerned if home rule affects that in one way, shape, or another.
Good point.
That's all I have.
Thank you very much. And we have no other public input. Is there any more comments in the room?
Can we use the CARES Act to fund this?
So seeing none, no other comments, I thank you very much for your attendance today. I would ask before you leave if we could just give one very loud "Go Bucks" to see if we've got support in this room. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, excuse me, one second.
Yes.
I have one comment. I just want to.
Only if you're not a Kansas City.
No, it's a good thing. I just want to personally thank Paul and John Osborne for the tremendous work and service they have given to Manatee County over the years, the decades, that they have served the people of Manatee County. I know they're both, one's retiring, the other's moving on to another job, and I just want to personally thank them. I worked with both of them when I was here. Most people in this county don't have an opportunity to work with them directly, but they have done amazing things to help protect and preserve and enhance the abilities of Manatee County government. So thank you guys. We're going to miss you all, and good luck in your new jobs and your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. The next Council of Governments meeting is scheduled for May 4th, 2021 at 4 p.m. here in the Longboat Key Room at the Convention Center. The meeting will be hosted by the City of Bradenton with Mayor Gene Brown as chair.
While the city still exists.
It's your turn in the barrel.
And I'm making the agenda. So
I have a brief thing I'd like to discuss.
Thank you very much, everybody. This meeting is.
End with you, but I was like.